Blessings, everyone. Mary Costello. I'm just impromptu conversation with Sir Joseph Grimm. I've been sending this call out for the resurrection of Father Earth, and today I sent out a message to say, let us give breath to Father Earth, and whatever it is, allow it to emerge. So we have spent so much time in battle with this Archon Father, which was essentially a father outside of light, which could not be reached. So the sons of which were always sacrificed. The resurrection of the eternal channel of Mother, the sanctified birthing channel of Mother, has offered now the return of the infinite channel of Father and Son, so that they would never be separated. So there is an infinite channel of the masculine, just as there is an infinite channel of the feminine. But it is not what, in my understanding, and I want us all just to feel it and, let's all figure it out together. But this idea that there is a overarching Father outside of light, like a dominating presence, is no longer standing up, because what that is doing, it's that cannot be replicated on Earth. So everything has to be like alpha omega, right? The Earth and above and below has to correspond. So it's my understanding that the Father is the Son of the Mother within the womb of the Celestial Mother, the light of the heart of the Mother, the pulse point of humanity, and then has a corresponding presence on Earth, a corresponding pulse, corresponding primordial rising force, that has been, and an infrastructure of him in the earth that I believe involves the trees, the volcanoes, the stone, that has been desecrated in order to supplant the authority of the Father Earth. So Joseph is with me because Joseph has just been feeling along with what I've been saying, and I want to give him space to speak anything he wants, basically. But this is the whole point. We're giving breath to Father Earth, and Joseph is feeling those words, right? So, just wanting to give you the space to speak as you wish.
Thank you. I appreciate you bringing me on your
So
show,
welcome.
Mary. I appreciate it. You said you wanted to know my background. My
Yeah, please.
background, when I first, where you saw me fiddling with my computer, I was bringing up granted, I already know my background, but I was bringing it up so it'd be easier to read it off.
Sure.
What brought me on my life path? Well, if you believe in multiverses, as they say, people from other realms, other verses, my path began. My soul is not originally from this timeline. My soul is originally from a timeline, a place called Thyera. It's another world. It's another realm, another existence. It's known as Earth Prime, the first ever Earth. It's would be considered, yeah, the first ever Earth, the first ever created Earth.
Okay.
This Earth would be considered 678 or 679 in Earths in the multiverse. My soul's existed a long time, and I've, in my lifetimes, I've been some type of warrior. I've been some type of librarian. Well, I'm what they call a walking library. I had someone do a past life regression on me years ago, and it made sense and it filled in the blanks of a lot of things. Everybody knows of the Akashic Library.
Mm-hmm.
The Akashic Library, best way to describe it, the Smithsonian in DC, how you've got the 15 buildings there, but it's not what's above, it's what's below. It is
Okay.
the biggest historical vault in the world. That I'm just giving a reference point.
Mm-hmm.
The Akashic Library, I'm using my case as a reference point. Okay, here's
Mm-hmm.
the Akashic Library, but think of there being other libraries underneath of it and other libraries that are throughout the multiverse that are connected to the Akashic. The Akashic is just one chunk, one
Mhm.
piece. There's what's known as the Valerian Library. The Valerian Library was split up into 8 different people because it was so big lifetimes ago, the knowledge of it. It wasn't a regular library. You'd go in and pull a book out of a shelf. It was when Atlantis existed, there was what was known as Saccharospheres. And a Saccharosphere, it looks like those gaming chairs, those really big gaming chairs, the round.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Ready Player One?
I don't think so. I don't think
Okay,
so.
the big gaming chair. They look like a big old sphere. You can sit in them. You lean back,
Yeah.
and you put on UAV goggles, not VR goggles, but it's called UAV goggles,
Mhm.
and you can get up and move around with it in the room, so you don't
Mhm.
have to stay central. So that's what the color. That's what the Valerian Library originally was. To access it, you had to sit in, like, you had to go in this sphere, and it would lay you
Okay.
back, and it would jack you in like the Matrix. It would put a
Yes.
thing like on the back of your neck, and it would put your consciousness in the library.
Wow.
And that the library was so big, it was split up into 8 different people that were
Mhm.
chosen lifetimes ago to carry this knowledge with them. I happen to be one of them. My son
Mhm.
that I was mentioning outside happens to be one of them. Ironically enough, my ex wife happens to be one of them. Her
Mm.
2 sons that she has in this lifetime are our sons from lifetimes ago. My son
Mhm.
Corey, I mentioned, my ex-wife is his mother from lifetimes ago. So it
Mhm.
would be me, Corey, our 2 sons, and my ex-wife. And then it would be my son Christopher that lives in Florida. He's 5, so he was given a chunk of library years ago, many
Mhm.
lifetimes ago. So that's 6. I've only ever found, I haven't found the other 2 that the
Mhm.
pieces of the library were stuck put in. I was given the biggest chunk of the library because I was a librarian.
Mhm.
Librarians back in the day are librarians in this day and age aren't compared to what they were back in the old days. Librarians back in the old days would be willing to die to protect the libraries. They were trained from my home world, and throughout the lifetimes that I've been a librarian, librarians were trained in different tactics, hand to
Mm.
hand, weapons. They were trained basically like they were trained pretty much like a soldier to protect the
Mhm.
library, gather knowledge. They would die protecting the library. They would die protecting the knowledge. And if
It's
they
beautiful.
died with the knowledge in them, they would wield it to someone else so
Mhm.
it wasn't lost. They would have like what I'm about to say is going to sound like something out of Green Lantern. They would have like a gauntlet on, but on Green Lantern, it's a ring. The
Mhm.
librarians would have a gauntlet that was about this big.
Mhm.
That when they were dying, they would say, "I send this out into the world. Choose the next librarian."
Mm.
And throughout the lifetimes, it went from being a gauntlet to a simple birthmark that you would be born with, or that
Mhm.
you would be branded with. What it looks
Yeah.
like, what the brand looks like, is something like that right there. Is like that off of a lighter, a smite
Mhm.
off of a lighter.
Okay.
Um, your brand, and when you're given the 8 marks of the library, you're considered a master librarian.
Mhm.
You get the marks at the age. The first mark you would take would be 5. The next one would be 9. Age 13, 17, 21, 23, 27, 29, and your final one would be when you're in your 40s. It's very
Mm.
rare to get all 8 marks before then.
Mm.
By the time I was already 15 in this lifetime, I had already obtained all 8 brands. I'm
Mhm.
what they call a master librarian
Mhm.
because I carry the knowledge with me. And what helps me have that much knowledge in my head, because that much knowledge for a regular human would explode their mind. But I have a unique attribute in this life. I have what they call Asperger syndrome. I'm a high function autistic.
Yeah.
As they say about autistics, we can store a lot of knowledge in our head.
Mm.
That's what gives me my unique attribute.
Yeah.
So what
That is,
doctors call disorder has become my greatest gift.
Yeah. So when you say the word knowledge, library, all of the streaming, it's like an eternal streaming, and I can see this. And this is why I have been looking for this network of the trees. I see things in very simplistic forms, in the forms of nature, because I only really trust nature, if you know what I mean. So I always follow nature, and then that leads to um, things like this, right? So what I'm feeling when you're speaking of this knowledge, this eternal streaming knowledge, because it's active, right? It's in your brain. It's not in a book. It's in your consciousness. It's not in a book, and it's, as you say, it's coming from the first earth. So is this the knowledge of architecture, or the knowledge of forming, or what is this the knowledge, if you know what I'm trying to say? Like, what is it? Yeah. Because, okay,
You
let me
grab
just throw a
I'm
bit in
still
front
here.
of
I'm
that,
just
right?
grabbing my journal.
Yeah, so because, like, if we think of the knowledge that we are we have been that has been pushed upon us from this, like, archon father system, these religious systems, there's always knowledge of what, how to be less than you are, and how to fit into a control system, and how to be ashamed, and how to be limited. So you're talking about a completely different knowledge, a living, breathing stream of knowledge from the first earth. Um,
Yes.
so you're talking about ancient neural pathways that are continuously flowing. So obviously that is not the knowledge of domination, that is the knowledge of life. So that is beautiful. So that is, yeah, I'm sorry, this is all brand new to me, Joseph. So I'm literally piecing it together as we're talking. Um, I'm explaining it to myself. Yeah, it's ancient streaming neural pathways of living, breathing knowledge. So the
The
how-to,
best
the
way,
how-to of the universe, I guess. The how-to of,
exactly.
mm,
The best way to describe it is, you know what a tesseract is, right?
no.
Okay, have you ever seen, hang on, the Avenger movie?
No, I'm sorry. I don't
Okay,
watch anything.
okay, think of a tesseract as a square box,
Okay.
and but yet it can, oh, hang on here. Let me,
Oh yeah, like it can stretch back infinitely. Is that what you?
yes, test. Oh, perfect.
Cool.
Okay, images. See if I can. Yes, it can stretch back infinitely, but it can open and expand. There we go. That is a tesseract.
Okay. Thank you.
That's the best reference I can get. But think of it as a box within a box within a box within a structure. But within the
Mm-hmm.
center of that box, you saw the round sphere in the center of all those squares.
Mm-hmm.
What it is, you know what a gyroscope is? Gyroscope, it's about yay big. It's
Mm-hmm.
got a circle that goes this way, a circle that goes this way, a circle that goes this way, and it spins every
Mm-hmm.
which direction.
Okay.
Now, think of that being almost like what they would call an implant.
Mm-hmm.
That not all librarians would have an implant like that. To have an implant
Mm-hmm.
like that would any average tesseract like that implanted in a librarian would not be the case for your average librarian.
Mm-hmm.
That something like that is only bestowed upon it's like an honor. It'd be like getting a Purple Heart or a Medal of Valor, or
It
in
feels like it's like
France, it'd be a
a
Silver
rose.
Star.
It's like it feels like the feminine version is a rose heart. That's what that feels like. That just makes me feel like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's also what's called a Haterian
Mm,
tesseract. It's funny you say heart. A Haterian tesseract is shaped just like the think. Take that whole image I just gave you, but
mhm,
do it in the shape of a heart like this, and then another heart
mhm,
like this, and then another heart here, another heart here. So four of them put together, and lay them flat like this, and bend them upwards. So the whole
mhm,
shape, it's like a rounded heart, an
mhm,
entire. But think of a heart. Think of a round ball, but with
mhm,
several that would look like a heart if you put several hearts together and formed a ball.
mhm,
That is a true. That is it's known as a Dessert Tesseract. A Dessert
mhm,
Tesseract is the highest honor that you can be given, and there are only in the history of the library, in the history of the Valerian Library, there has only been in the history in the billion years that the 22 plus billion years that library has been around, there's only ever been three librarians that have ever been bestowed with that honor. Me
mhm,
being one of them, my son being one of them, and my ex-wife being one of them. My ex-wife in this life is my wife from every lifetime that I've ever existed, and she's from my home world, so we've existed a long time.
mhm,
And see, most people, when I help them awaken or come to them, they don't
mhm,
always remember who they are, or where they come from, because I'm a master librarian. I remember, I know people's memories. I know certain individuals' past lives,
yeah.
and I'm that person that comes along and helps them awaken and helps show them who they are.
Yeah.
I don't save them. It's like, let's say, in my life coaching, I use a reference. I say, I will ask like a client, what is something you're good at? They'll be like, one guy, I haven't talked to him in a long time. He was a chef, and I helped him get back into his cooking.
Mhm,
I said, okay, I'm going to take you metaphorically into that kitchen in your head. We're going to
mhm,
walk up to that door. I can't walk through it. You have to step through. I can walk in with you, but you have to be the first one to walk through. And I go, think about it that you've like covered up. I go, like when you leave an old house and you cover stuff up
mhm,
with sheets. I go, so you're going to walk back in your kitchen and you're going to take and lift up that sheet off everything. You're going to dust everything off, and you're going to get yourself back into your cooking, and you're going
mhm,
to break down what you do emotionally. Each step you're taking is is going to be a step in the healing of yourself. So in essence,
mhm,
I go, what do you do when you're a chef in the kitchen? He goes, well, I have to prepare, get this and this and this. I have to do prep work. I go, so what you're doing is your inner shadow work. Think of the
mhm,
kitchen as your metaphor. I go, so every time you're in that kitchen, think of it each time you're cutting up something. You're cutting up something and prepping for that inner shadow work. You're getting it ready all to go inside yourself and go deeper within than you've ever went before. He
mhm,
goes, damn, that's good. And it's
yeah.
kind of funny what he does now. I'm not going to give his name out because anonymity, even though I don't talk to him anymore.
Mhm,
He he's a he is a sous chef. He calls himself a culinary arts life coach.
mhm,
So he's a chef and a life coach at the same time, and a healer. He's a master Reiki healer,
mhm,
a sous chef, and a life coach. He's a trauma
yeah.
coach. So when he's helping people through recover themselves, he's literally using his job, what he does for a living. He'll bring people into his kitchen and say, okay,
Mhm,
this is what we're going to start with. He goes, think of, and he'll use the same reference I used, and he's helped a lot of people. So when
yeah.
you're healing, it's when you're going deep within, you're literally you're going deep within yourself, but you're also, me being, my background is quantum energy healer, quantum recovery coach, motivational speaker, a seer, a remote viewer, Sigma Hyoka empath. What a Sigma Hyoka empath is think of your basic empath. Then you
Mhm.
have a high oak empath. They're more sensitive than your basic empath. A sigma high oak empath is we're highly sensitive to everything around us, sounds,
Yeah.
energy, light.
Mhm.
We're able to see. I what helped me become a stronger empath, ironically, was I was deliberately ran over by a truck in
Mm.
2022. I
Oh.
have nerve damage on the whole left side of my body, and I'm 22%, or excuse me, I'm 25% blind out of my left eye due to that.
Mm.
And what the universe gave me back in return is I can look at a tree and everybody sees a tree, but I look past the tree and I see the energy flowing around the tree. But I look further. I look down to the smallest minuscule molecule of the tree, and that's when I'm looking at things. So it's like when I'm looking at people. The other unique thing it gave me in my job that I did, I told you before we came live, I was a trained
Mhm.
human lie detector and a trained interrogator.
Mhm.
So what's interesting about that is what the universe gave me back in return with my eye
Mm.
is, of course, a lot of people can see energy on people, but what's unique about my left eye is when let's say someone's being deceptive to me,
Mhm.
there are different parts of the body that light grand the chakras, but when someone's being deceptive, different parts of their chakras light up.
Oh.
I got a little anonymous fact for you. If you do you see auras at all? Body image,
Um,
color
no,
around
when I
body?
no, so I'll see, let's say, the color of the heart sometimes, but not around, not so much. And when I'm doing my
When
healing, I see things, but
next time someone tries to be deceptive to you and you can tell they're being deceptive,
mhm.
when you see the color of the heart, look real closely at their heart, but also look at their
Mhm.
throat chakra. You'll see it
Mhm.
literally light up red. You'll see their
Oh,
throat.
okay.
No joke. People,
Yeah.
when they're being deceptive, this is a true fact,
Mhm.
true psychology. You'll physically see their throat light up a little red here. But I
Yeah.
see past that. So I see it light up literally a very deep blood red. So I'm seeing the energy around
Yeah.
someone when they're being deceptive. And I'll look
Wow.
at somebody and I'll be like, don't do that. They're like, do what?
Mm.
I haven't said nothing yet. And I go, no, you're fixing to try to be deceptive with me. They're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
How the? I go, choose your next words wisely, please.
Yeah.
When
Mhm.
someone would lie to me in the past, you know what my response was? That was my response to a lot of things was anger and aggression. Now, when
Yeah.
someone goes to lie to me, I'll be like, look, go.
Mm.
They'll be like, I go.
Mhm.
There's been times that I've had to physically get up in somebody's face and say, go.
Yeah.
I need you to leave until you can be honest with me.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
with a Sigma Hawk empath. I'm a criminal profiler. I have a degree behind my name in criminal psychology, a doctorate. So
Yeah.
I'm a profiler. I have the gift of, I'm a channeler, the gift of psychometry. It's the ability to touch objects, see energy, and feel
Mhm.
energy and feel memories off of it. I am a Sigma, or excuse me, a, a somatic biorhythmic dancer. Um, Light language and the hand movements you see, I do that in my dance. I'm a
Yeah.
Kundalini meditation practitioner and I'm a cryptozoologist, meaning
Mm.
cryptoids like Sasquatch, skunk ape, creatures like that of mythological being.
Mm.
So I study mythological creatures.
That's cool. I'd love to talk about that because there's so much interest in that. I just want to, can I just speak on the tree and a few things that I'm perceiving as you're speaking? So I just wanted to just explain myself as you're speaking. There's clearing going on, right? Because you're speaking something so true, and
There we go. That's better.
it's kind of coming upwards. But so as you're speaking, I see with this weaving eye, and I'm seeing where what you're saying fits in with this whole infrastructure of our original creation, of the way of original creation, the way of original consciousness, and therefore the way of original authority. Because, as you know, my whole thing is to bring us back to the consciousness of innocence as a cohesive one so that we can completely eliminate, this within ourselves, within our own body, between each other and all around us, this overarching tyrannical governance of self and of other. Because it's done within, we have, some of us have been kind of brought to almost do it to ourselves to stop ourselves from talking. Now you don't do that. You let yourself talk, and that is why you're here, which is so cool. I want to talk about the trees, right? This is what I have here. This is in the center of my table, and this is what I'm calling the whole time until it's done. So I have been shown, if you see, there's like golden and then there's clear quartz. So what I have been shown is that there is the clear quartz is like the song of the mother, hurtling through the the ley lines of the earth, through our bodies lines, through everything that there is, and holding us together as one song, one body. And then this golden light is like this golden light of, like I said, the son of the mother, the son of the heart, the father, the golden father, passing through all neural pathways, the whole consciousness, every single channel that there is within earth and self in cohesion. And that is like the one blood. So we are returning to one body and one blood. And I have obviously know that the resurrection of this consciousness held within the Father Earth consciousness is imperative for this, because no tree like this can sustain without roots. And we need to, and for me, all truth rises, all power rises, innocence rises. And I know there are stores, and I know I'm not the only one, there are stores and stores of information, um, in the uncovering, in the unearthing, in the freeing of the Father Earth. I want to ask you something. Okay, so when you're speaking, what I'm seeing, all the words you're using, it's like, so as I'm streaming this crystalline song of Mother. So I'm almost streaming like the dream, right? The dream of creation, and the forming of creation through song. But it is without these finer details of architecture, let's say. But I'm seeing from what you're streaming through these neural pathways, this this pulse lines, I would say, almost bloodlines, it is bloodlines, is the know-how of the architecture of things and the geometry of things and the building of things, which is amazing. Excuse me, I'm just clearing because this is old stuff, like you said, ancient from the first earth. So I just want to say that ancient neural pathways are opening, and as Joseph is speaking, um, this is something, and the fact that we are at this place where we are having this conversation, um, this means this is being gifted. Like, I'm told what to do by, the grandmothers, by the Eternal Mother, and I am, and the Father, the pulse of my heart. I'm told what to do. And the fact that we are here speaking this is really exciting for me, because it tells me, I know there's people listening to this saying, listening to you, Joseph, saying, I know this stuff. I know what this is. I know what they're saying. So when you've also spoken that you've had like this deeply empathic, almost like psychic, interconnected knowing with others, and this is part of this neural pathways. When we have our neural pathways of knowing connected, our neural pathways of compassion, where we actively know one another and we know the truth and we cannot be lied to, this is our root system. This is the root system of Father Earth that holds us in truth and strength and upholds the love song of the mother. So she can sing us, to our fullest expansion, and he can hold up her formless structure, if you know what I mean. Um, okay, I want to ask you, Joseph. Um, Okay, so when you spoke of like your reaction was this the fist, right? Anger, and it's understandable because living in a world that where the infrastructure of Father Earth has been desecrated, that causes anger. It's same as I, when I'm living in a world where the Immaculate Song of Mother has been desecrated, that causes deep sadness and anger. So I'm just I'm seeing what's coming up for us now as we are moving, and this is a journey. There's I want more people to speak with us and with me and with to be activated by this conversation. And in the end, we will remember, we will be given the big hug of Father Earth. All the like you said, you give a big hug when you need to remind someone of themselves, to bring someone back to their truth. And it is a big hug of Father Earth because it's like a root system and a branch system that literally will hold everyone together in oneness. So that is what we're coming back to. And when you speak of your neural knowing, your psychic knowing between other people, that is the correct mind, as opposed to when we think of this disgusting AI, artificial mind, this kind of like mind control mind, which is of the archon, which is of the false father, that binds people in false control, false servitude, and confusion and chaos and hierarchy. And just when you're speaking of that, the true mind of um, this beautiful branch system that I'm talking about and root system that I'm talking about, the neural mind, the living, breathing, ancient, eternal neural mind of the earth, that is what is restoring. And that will completely allow that archon, false mind, to dissolve out of our consciousness because it will no longer um, be necessary, of course. Um, I want to ask you I'd like to ask you something, but if you have something else in your mind, please speak it. I want to ask you about the Sasquatch and the mythical creatures like the dragons, those things that you know of that maybe, well, I know they would be really interesting to people. If there's anything you wanted to speak on that, and if there's something else you'd rather speak on, that's fine too.
First of all, thank you for sharing it. You shared your. It's interesting. You're sharing your beautiful tree,
Yeah.
and I was called kind of share this with you.
Oh, beautiful colors.
I created that a while back,
Mm,
and it's interesting. It's kind of funny what I did all that with. Those were just the coloring. The
mhm,
red was done with the red pen, was done with this red pen. The
mhm,
blue was done with that blue pen. The rest of the coloring was done with highlighters.
mm,
And it's interesting that you're talking about the ancient neural pathways and all that.
mm,
It's interesting how you're talking about Sasquatch and all that. My opinion on let me get some of this away so I can have some. There we go. When you're talking about Sasquatch, my opinion, some people's opinions is that Sasquatch is an interdimensional being. That's been my opinion for years. But my opinion on Sasquatch is that he's a guardian. Think about it. The
mm.
Native Americans, they called when man came in, when white men came in to take their land, some Native Americans had used ancient magic to call upon a guardian of the likes that man had never seen before.
Wow.
Sasquatch. Um, or what's known as a lokaya. A lokaya is a trickster spirit. You know how they talk about in the crow tribes, they talk about the crow coming down and touching down and being a trickster,
Mm,
known as a lokaya. And it's interesting because the lokaya and the lokaya, what it is a crow. It's a trickster
mhm.
spirit, but it's not necessarily a trickster spirit. It's a guide. It's a
Yeah.
guardian, just like think about it. The chupacabra from Mexico. Everybody
Mm,
fears it, but look what when the chupacabra came in. Of course, when white men or when man tried to come in and take the land from the Mexicans, what did they do? They called upon. What did the Aztecs do? They called upon an ancient guardian that no one had ever seen the likes of. Chupacabra.
wow.
Look at Mothman.
Yeah.
The Mothman mystery. There was a
Mhm.
lot of stuff going on. People were doing dumb crap up in Pennsylvania at the time. Look what happened. Suddenly you see this big ass black looking bird type thing suddenly come out of nowhere with red eyes,
Mhm.
and it chased government men out. Look, Florida has their own version of Sasquatch. It's called skunk ape.
Mhm.
They called up the Seminole tribe down there called upon an ancient guardian to protect their people. Skunk ape. I can give some look at the the Buddhist of Nepal, of the mountains. What is one of the big things you hear about up there a lot of the time? Yeti, an ancient guardian.
Yeah.
Each one of these mythical creatures that are here. Look at vampires in Romania.
Mhm.
Granted, they're going to protect a guardian is going to protect at any cost,
Mhm.
even if it's at the cost of other people's lives.
Yeah.
So think about it. A vampire to me is a guardian.
Mhm.
Granted, they have been publicized, and the biggest thing in the movie, biggest thing that has been done the most in every movie out there has been bats or vampires.
Yeah.
But
True.
sometimes a guardian can become too much. Sometimes an evil that has been a necessary evil for a while. Then, okay,
Mhm.
you've got a vampire. Then, of course, you've got a vampire hunter. So think about it.
Mhm.
They've got to keep that balance. You've got to have a balance in
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
Look at the way the food chain. Look at the way that nature goes. You've
Mm.
got predators. You've got prey. You've got now. Let's go jump back all the way to prehistoric age. One of the biggest, baddest animals out there was a velociraptor because they were pack animals.
Mm.
Now there was something much bigger than them, Tyrannosaurus rex. You get six velociraptors, they can take down a full Tyrannosaurus rex. There's even
Mm.
something bigger than a Tyrannosaurus rex. I can't think of what it is, but it was much bigger and much more fierce and weighed
Mm.
probably about 6 or 7 more tons than a rex. Oh, it would
Mhm.
tear him up.
Yeah.
Um, there, with you've got to have that balance in nature. You've got to have
Yeah.
that balance in life. Think
Mm.
about the feminine, masculine. You got to have that
Mm.
balance. You also got to sometimes be less in your headspace, got to be more in your heart. You got to be willing
Mm.
to go deeper into your heart than you've ever went probably before in your life. When
Yeah.
we're going on that journey to heal, think
Mm.
about it. You're going for uh, anxiety
Mhm.
is the greatest attribute somebody will ever have, and why it's the greatest attribute because it makes your. Most people when they have anxiety, they're like, "Oh my God!" They start panicking. The first
Mm.
place that you'll feel anxiety is usually in your chest or the back of
Mm.
your neck. And anxiety, think of it as a guardian for your body. And the reason I'm going to say this, my friend
Beautiful.
along a while back, him and I got into a discussion about anxiety. He said, "You know what's awesome about anxiety?" I said, "What's that, Jeremy?" He goes, "Anxiety makes you aware." And I'm like,
Mm.
oh, then I'm like, he was mad. He goes, "No, no, no, seriously, you got you." He goes, "Listen to this." He goes, "Okay, anxiety can be your best friend." I said, "Okay, I'll bite."
Mhm.
I was a smart ass. I said, "You hooked me." He goes, "Hmm." He goes, "I ain't even gonna acknowledge that one." He goes, "Okay, let's hook this." He goes, "Anxiety makes you hyper aware. And when you're going through anxiety, when you go into your anxiety, he goes, I want you from here on out to ask yourself, okay." He goes, "I want you to make it feel like you're sitting down at a table with the best friend, your anxiety. And your
Mm.
anxiety is going to be like, hey, look, you're feeling this, this, and this." And then he goes, "You're going to become aware of this, this, and this." He goes, "Think about it. Anxiety makes you hyper aware of your senses, your emotions, things around you."
Mm.
I'm like, huh. I'm like, okay, I never looked at it that way before. So
Yeah.
anxiety is like your guardian, your body's way of being your guardian for your body, making you hyper aware.
Mm.
Think of when we've went through some type of pain or some type of
Mm.
hurt from someone else, some type of trauma.
Yeah.
Pain that someone puts us through also can be a beautiful lesson.
Mm.
Granted, nobody deserves to go through pain, emotional, physical, whatever, sexual, whatever it is, but that can be a great lesson for you because when you're going through pain, it's making you aware. It's getting you more
Mhm.
in touch with your body. And when you're in that pain and you're in those emotions, you have to sit there in that muck
Mhm.
and be willing to do the work. But you have to also be willing to take and not let your emotions run the show, be able to set them up on the shelf and be like, okay, I'm going to set this over
Yeah.
here and I need to go. I need to do my life. I need to do this, this, and this, and not letting. But let's say your grief is going to hit you. Another one is grief. Grief is
Mm.
going to hit you whenever it wants to. There ain't no stopping it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was interesting that you did the call out to that tree because before I sent the message I sent to you, you and I have been friends for a little bit,
Yeah.
and I haven't really talked with you because it was like about a week ago. I opened up your messenger and I'm like, I don't even know what the hell to say. So I closed it
Yeah.
out. I'm like, okay, universe. I was like, okay, when you're ready for me to talk with her, you'll bring me to her in her presence.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, I was just getting ready to go to sleep. And I went over and opened up your message, opened it up, and sent the text I had sent to you.
Yeah.
And that's one I created for everybody on
It was
Valentine's Day. That text I
beautiful.
sent you,
Just
I wrote,
affirming, strengthening words. Yeah. Mm.
believe it or not, that's my original writing, but that's pulled from different writings I've done. So
Yeah.
I pulled that from 17 different writings I did to create
Mhm.
that one beautiful text I did.
Yeah.
That's what I do is
Yeah.
when I'm before I let me finish off the first point I was making. And
Yeah.
I was laying just like this. And I'm like, okay, universe, take me, guide me where you need me to go. And I was as I was laying here, my body went, I'm like, my body went like this. I wasn't seizing, I was going deep into meditation. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and while I'm laying there, my eyes rolled back and I'm sitting here. So I do light language. And I started while I'm sitting there, I opened up your messenger, opened up your
Mhm.
Facebook, and suddenly I'm going, Zenirama Sitremitsu, Sisiarama, Sitiama Sie, Kariama Yasia, So Shisi. And I'm like, and I leaned back from it. I was like, okay, universe, I see where you need me to go. I said, I'll go to sleep when you feel I'm ready to.
Yeah.
This is kind of weird what just slipped in my head. Thank you, universe.
Yeah.
So she, sociare, somoseri, sontare. Son befasete akaite. Son diga. Son didea. Toda. Son dere. Sociari. Sovari. Socieri a me. Core. Ani. Shore. Sociati amaha. Tidiare. Sonteare. Come scitire motote. Ani aniare soraci. Sondoari. Sondicare a te cinitema. Sonva. Son de treate, amose, son de reate teratea, son vavarati shitri, amoboseria tocinearea, care amater, ahora citerama, care ai, nia siate amato. Whoa, I see my hands lighting up red from all that energy I was putting out. As you can see,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
hands are literally red. I had to grab my two grounding things that I have.
Mm.
I
That
have a
was
bag of
beautiful,
things that I
Joseph.
carry
Thank
with
you.
me. I had to
Thank
grab
you
my
so
grounding
much.
tools.
Mhm.
You might get a kick out of one of my grounding tools. Two of my grounding tools are little pool balls. Oh, There we go.
I do get a kick out of that. So,
7.
number 7.
The other one is 13 in here. The other one is a heart-shaped rock that I found a
Mm,
long time ago. Or excuse me, that my ex-wife gave me.
beautiful. Can I speak? Can I speak to
Go
what you've
ahead.
just done? Yeah. Thank you so much for that.
That took a
Um,
lot out of me, so you go ahead.
yeah, I'll fill
Oh,
in. Okay. I just want to offer a full-on invitation. All those beautiful guardians that you spoke of, these ancient eternal guardians of Sasquatch, Yeti, all of those other words that you spoke, inviting them into our consciousness, inviting them into the light, inviting them, offering them breath of the womb to be with us and to share their message. And when you're speaking of the balance and the imbalance, you know, the rising of Father Earth, the same as the rising of Mother Earth, um, it there is rumblings and there has been imbalance, of course, because these are voices that have been ignored and actually desecrated. So just offering that knowing of balance and openness and invitation so that everyone, every energy will find its balance and every energy can be trusted. Every energy of nature, of the eternal ancient way of us can be trusted and is trusted. And within the water of the mother, every energy will find its way into balance and harmony. So there is nothing to fear or to just there's nothing to hold back. I'm wanting to talk of I'm just seeing this emerald energy. I'm just seeing this emerald energy going further. Just inviting, like
whoa.
Joseph's words as he's speaking, inviting these words. This is the word that I'm calling for, the word, the knowing, the primordial word of coming through these eternal neural pathways of the Father, of Father Earth, inviting these to be the sounds within our bodies, the sounds of our knowing, to replace the spell lines, the archon spell lines, which bind us to a false father, which take us out of our body, which make us sacrifice parts of ourselves and hold us into a bad dream. Just inviting that these sounds of the Father Earth and more, let's opening up the eternal stream, opening up the neural pathways, offering my breath to the neural pathways and the eternal streaming of the sounds and the voice and the intelligence and knowledge of the eternal Father. Okay.
As you were saying that, what I saw form above you, that's why you heard me go, whoa. But I didn't want to
Yeah.
interrupt you. I watched you remember Sims from back in the day?
Yeah.
The
Yeah. I
game
think I
Sims where
do.
it had like the little crystal above them?
Yeah.
What I thought was unique, that's actually one of my favorite games from back in the day. Between you and me, I still play Sims online. I still have my old Sims gaming account. I'm a Sims guy. That I saw just like that. I saw um I watched a box form above your head, and then
Hmm.
or a sphere above your head, and I watched it start kind of going like this, like in a Rubik's cube, just
Hmm.
above your head. That the way the light came down, I watched it
Yeah.
start doing this, and then I watched it go from a box,
Hmm.
from the sphere to the box, and then I watched it start kind of breaking apart like this, and I watched it become a whole. Let me see if I can sketch it out.
Yeah.
What it became. I watched it become, oop, crap. I watched it become that right there.
Oh, cool.
And then the name that came into my mind while you were doing your channeling was
Mm,
Sarana or
mm,
Sarana came into mind. That's Saryona. Sarana came into my mind while you were doing your
mhm.
channeling, and I was like, Sarana. And while we were talking Earth, when you were talking Earth Guardians, when you were bringing
Yeah.
saying that I had called them in, so I decided to go over to Google and I typed in Ancient Guardians of Earth.
Hmm.
And you know how you get a link, you follow a little
Yeah.
leaf and you follow another
Yeah.
one, another one. So it took me to Ancient Guardians of Earth were deities, Ancient Guardians of Earth were deities and earth elementals who guide humanity in cultivating crops and maintaining harmony with nature. Figures like Gaia, Greek mythology, and okay, I can't pronounce the other name. And then so I decided to go over to images
Hmm.
and went under images and followed a link to it says integrating the mastery of Earth's ancient guardians, Cyron, Michael White. So then that
Oh.
took me to a link that followed me to I took that link and went over to Instagram. Then
Hmm.
went over and typed in his name on Facebook,
Yeah.
and Cyron is the author of Roya Sands and the Bridge Between Worlds. As a spiritual channeler and an intuitive, and hang on here. He is an author, a speaker, channeler, teacher. He is also an intuitive psychic. So you see what I started out with. We started talking about Guardians of Earth, and it took me all the way to this.
Yeah. That's the neural
It's funny.
pathway in action.
Yeah, it's funny how I started connecting all these little dots,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
found this guy. And looking at this guy, and it's funny. You said
Mm,
Octorians.
mm.
Get out of there. The Octorians Online Conference.
Okay.
You see how everything is
Hmm.
like coming together. I was
Yes.
like, whoa.
Everything is coming together, and
I was
we,
like,
mm,
wow.
that's beautiful. We have the infrastructure. This is the infrastructure of the tree. And when I speak of the mother, the crystalline songline, the sound of the mother is opening opening the space, and then it has been filled with this neural pathway, this bloodline knowing. It's a neural pathway within the, like, not just of mind, of body, of blood within the body. And this is what AI is modeled after, right? This is the truth. And the AI, the mind control network is the imitation of this. The desecration of this beautiful one mind is the imitation done through AI and mind control. So we are resurrecting the original neural pathway. And this is how we'll find each other. This is how we're finding each other. And it may seem magical, but it is not. It is the same as, you have the ability to make a phone call and speak to someone on the different side of the planet in seconds. We will have that ability with our knowings and our downloading of our own knowledge, our original knowledge. That is what is to come. We are the technology and the infrastructure of knowledge. Mm.
Exactly, I agree.
Yeah, that's exciting. This has been amazing. Wow. I just
We
wonder,
are
yeah, sorry, Joseph. Yes,
connected
please.
to everything. We
Yeah.
are, like I said, think of this being part of, think of us just being just one little sphere like this, but then you have all those little interconnectedness that connects us to everything around us. We're
Mm,
one small fraction of one big infrastructure,
yeah.
not to conform to everybody else, but to wake up to best way to reference I can use is The Matrix. Is one of my favorite movies. One of the greatest movie franchise they could have ever, well, my opinion, could have ever created. Because when Neo's sitting there in the Matrix with, or
Mm,
sitting there in the construct of the Matrix with Morpheus, he goes, Neo feels his hair, and he goes, "You notice your plugs are gone." He goes, "You think the air you're breathing is real." He goes, "You think that food you're tasting is real." He goes, "Let me out." And he starts panicking because he's not ready to wake up.
mm,
Because you remember what happens next. Neo passes out, and of course, that stick the IV in his arm. And then he goes, then they take him back in, and they're showing him walking through the street with Morpheus, telling him about the Matrix. And suddenly he sees the woman in the red dress. Distraction.
mm-hmm,
And then suddenly he turns around and you see the agent with the gun in his face, and even though it's just a training program, he goes, "Many of us, when we see the agents, we fall." And then suddenly, look what the Oracle told Neo: "You're
mm,
not the one. I'm sorry. You're not the savior."
mm,
She told him what he needed to hear, so he could believe it himself.
mm-hmm,
When we're there are those entities out there that will try to stop us. The darkness does not like the light. The
mm,
darkness will send its little minions. Darkness can be the devil, whatever people want it to be. There are
mm-hmm,
different versions of darkness. There are different versions of gods. There's not one God. There
mm,
are many gods. Every culture has its own god. It has its own bringers of light and darkness that try to stop the light people.
mm-hmm,
Think of when we're out there in the world, when people try to stop us or pull us off our path.
mm-hmm.
Think of them being like the agents
Yeah.
from the Matrix.
Mm-hmm,
I got a strip for you. I was going for a walk the other day, and I kept watching this guy across the street. I could see him standing in the shadows, and I'm like, okay. So I kept walking, and what was interesting is I saw him disappear, and I'm like, where'd he go? Okay.
mm,
So I get a couple more blocks down, and I suddenly look across the street to my left, and I suddenly see that same man standing over in the shadow, leaning up against the pole, and I'm like, that's kind of spooky. I
mm.
watched him have black glasses on and a black suit, and I was like, I said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Who are you?" He goes, it was right when he went to go approach me. I watched him take his glasses off, and I saw his eyes were just black as night. I'm
Mm,
like, before I could put my hand up to react, suddenly I watched this woman, as she's taking her trash out, suddenly turn. I watched her put her hand out like this and goes, "Be gone!" And her hand lit up blue, and I watched him put his glasses back on and disappear back into the shadows. I'm
wow.
like, "Who are you?" She goes, "I go where the universe calls me." She goes,
Wow.
"Oh,"
I'm
she goes,
tingles
"I
on my
woke up."
head.
She goes, "I know what that was. Do you?" And I go, "Darkness." trying to stop me on my path. She goes, they will. She goes, the darkness will send their best, will send their agents at you to stop you. She goes, for
Mm.
an agent to come at somebody like you, you've got to be some high vibe. She stopped dead in her tracks. She goes, can I see your hand? And I was like, so I let her see my hand, and I noticed she had a cane leaned up against the pole, and I go, are you blind? She takes her glasses off and goes, yeah, I am. She had whites, you could see the whites of her eyes. She goes, but I don't see like everybody else. She goes, I may be blind where people think I'm blind. She goes, but I'm not blind. She come up and goes, I can see the light that's radiating around you. She goes, you're like she goes, forgive my reference. I said, go ahead. She goes, you're like a fucking lighthouse. She goes, you shine so brightly. She goes, the darkness does not like the light. They will try to stop you.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, for them to try to come at somebody like you, that she goes, I wasn't even gonna take the garbage out. She goes, I was gonna do it in the morning, but something called me to. She goes, I
Mm.
came out and I stopped it. I was like, thank you.
Wow, that's beautiful.
A bringer of light, a guardian.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
she was. She was a guardian.
Mm-hmm.
Even the librarians, as trained as we are, we still have guardians.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
my guardian.
yeah. As you,
Ashana was her
mm,
name.
Athena, as you're speaking,
Ash-
that like tingles on my head and my back. It's just like, and then when you speak of the blue, I have been sending out this sapphire. About a week ago, I was gifted with like, oh, you can't hear me? Oh,
oh, you're back.
is that
That was
okay?
strange.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was weird. It tried to see the darkness does not like the light.
Tiny,
It tried to
tiny
stop you.
interferences. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that was
I'll,
interesting because I heard a loud and then suddenly it
wow.
went, your sound went dead for a minute. And
Hmm.
and as you were talking, I put my hands just like this and I said in my head, I went, universe, don't
Wow.
let the darkness affect her. And
Wow.
as soon as I said that, the light around you became that much brighter.
Oh, thank you. I'll tell you my story for sure now because if someone's trying to stop it. So about a week ago, I was gifted like in the angelic realm with like a sapphire and the palm of each hand. And I've been speaking about sapphire frequency, and it's just the fact that when you speak, that blue came out of that woman's hand. It just makes me feel wonderful because I'm sending out the sapphire frequency every night, and I am saying that those of us who can run the sapphire frequency will find each other. And the sapphire frequency is the frequency of, I will say, like angelic humanity. It is the frequency of the original creators. It is the frequency of those of us who, with, royal blood in our veins, and I mean the royal blood of humanity. And I'm sending out this frequency to, like a sound pulsing to gather everyone. This is my intention, but obviously this is just, this is much higher than me. But so when you say she used blue in her hand to repel this, because this entity does not run on blue, it does not have the blue blood. And there's something very special about the blood. And this is connected with the Father Earth, because the Father Earth is the channels of the bloodlines, and the bloodlines are the pulsing, and that's it's information, it's pulse, impulse, pulse, information, and knowledge. So, what that lady did, she is just showing us that those beings of light do not run on the sapphire currency, or those beings of darkness do not run on the sapphire currency. So it is the under that is just kind of strengthened in my knowing, um, my belief, or it's expanded my knowing now about the sapphire that I've been learning about. That's beautiful. That's a really powerful story, and it doesn't even surprise me. Like, this is how magical things are to get. We are in a synchronized dance. We are in a synchronized dance. And what is happening is that there was so much false frequency that there were those dark beings, those empty vessels, clogging up the dance floor almost, so we couldn't see each other. And what's happening is that those empty vessels, those dark entities, they're no longer being held. And we are all in this beautiful synchronized dance, and we are finding each other and seeing each other. And like that, that woman got the impulse to go to the bin or to the trash that you would say. And the impulse, the dance is known in our blood, in our body. It's not even something we need to think about, it's in our water. Um, we are just a synchronized dance team, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's beautiful to think of.
It is very beautiful to think of. It
Yeah.
is definitely what I was doing was looking up sapphire frequency.
Yeah.
Sapphire frequency, that you've got sapphire frequency, and then you've got the sapphire harmonical frequency. It comes at a tone that most not it doesn't come at a hertz frequency, it comes at a ta'ata frequency, and that's think of like a dog whistle.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell when somebody's very spiritually inclined with a dog
Yeah.
whistle, and most people don't. Most people are like, yeah, okay, whatever. How many people can actually hear a dog whistle?
I can hear those things. I can hear those
That means
repellents to keep, yeah, animals
that
away and
means
places.
you're very that means you're on a higher vibrational frequency than most people. But you
Mm,
notice when you hear a dog whistle, you're hearing another frequency come off of it.
mm,
You're hearing you're okay, if you break a dog, it's been proven fact. A friend of mine, he's a blind DJ and he's been blind for 20 years and he's one of the best
mm-hmm,
DJs I know because he
mm-hmm,
it's interesting how he does it. He can hear frequencies on different wavelengths because he had a chip put in his head.
okay.
And he has a chip right here where you can see it on the side of his head right here, a piece of
Mm-hmm,
what would look like a piece of metal sticking up the side of his head about this far. It looks like a small
mm-hmm,
antenna. He
yeah.
has an actual computer chip in his head, and he has what looks like little uh like the tip of that pin there.
Mm-hmm.
He has those he had those implanted in these four these
Wow.
this hand right here. And what's unique about that is he can go like this in midair with his hand, and he
Mm-hmm,
can sit there and feel the vibrations around him, and he can see the vibrations. And
mm-hmm,
what's unique is he's blind, but the frequency,
mm-hmm,
it puts the harmonics into the chip in his head, and what it does is it changes the harmonics into images to where he can see. Even though his
mm,
eyes are white, he can see. So the dog whistle is a very it's one piece of a harmonic.
mm-hmm,
Now, when I'm listening to music, I don't listen to
mm-hmm,
so much the words. I listen to more the
mm,
sound, the harmonics.
yeah.
And I listen because I'm already 71% hearing loss, 51% hearing loss because
Mm-hmm,
I used to be the guy that would set up for the DJs. I used to set up
yeah.
concert speakers and I had one blow next to my head. And what it did is it gave me an ability to hear on a harmonical level that most people won't. And it allows me to hear different frequencies. And we're talking about the sapphire frequency. And
Back.
it's like right now I'm hearing a frequency. I'm hearing a kind of a what I'm hearing when you're speaking. Sometimes, as you notice, my eyes will kind of go shut for minutes because I'm taking in your words,
Mm-hmm,
and when I shut my eyes, when I close my eyes and I look at you, I no joke, I'm seeing like sapphire color all around you. Even when my eyes are open now, I can see it, and I'm
yeah.
watching different harmonics come off you.
Yeah. Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Mm.
and I could feel it coming off you.
Mm. Yes, I have been just told to channel this sapphire as much as possible. If that's the only thing I do, just do that, because I've been told the you know the jewel hearts will feel it, and they'll start to rise or emerge from the shadows, and we will find each other easier. And as that happens, then all of that shadow hologram, like that reality we think is reality that we're interfacing with, and maybe we're not, but so many of us interface with this shadow reality that really doesn't even deserve our time. It will just dissolve. And like what that story of you and that woman when you went for the walk, that will be the reality. That will be the reality. Just synchronized moments in every moment. Things are going to
Exactly.
get so fast and unimpeded.
Exactly. Moments within moments will
Hmm.
we find, will the truth be revealed?
Yeah.
The truth will be revealed within itself, and that will be the reality because not everybody's going to want to wake up. It's kind of
Yes.
like what I cannot think of his name in the movie. The one that betrayed them, the dude with the bald head when he's sitting there with the agent,
Mm,
and he ends up telling when he's sitting there with the headset on, kind of like you are with your headset, and
mm,
he's sitting there while they're all jacked in. He goes, Trinity, they're going to jack me back in. She goes, that's not going to happen. See,
mm.
he wanted to go back to the fake world. He
Yeah.
wanted to be plugged back in, even though
Hmm.
they couldn't, because once you're pulled out of the matrix, you can't be put back in.
Hmm.
So they manipulated him to betray everybody else. So how
Hmm.
often are we manipulated by things of this world? How often do we fall for something in this world?
Mm.
What I've
Yeah.
been called to share
Hmm.
just recently, it's kind of funny you're talking about the sapphire frequency.
Mm.
And it was interesting because the other day I was doing this little research project of my own because my business is called CLIC Quantum Coaching. CLIC, it's what I was looking at earlier, was something that I haven't looked at in a long time. This is a very old journal of mine. I don't use it much anymore.
Look, look what I was just told to Bryn.
Oh, wow,
It's
beautiful.
something similar. It's the concentric pattern. It's something similar.
Something that I feel like I was just, oh, sure, I gotta find it again.
This nature's pattern, this natural pattern. I'm just seeing this rising and dissolving any other seal or pattern, false pattern that may have been placed as like a spanner in the cogs of this natural neural mind.
Exactly, I agree.
Mm.
Where is it? Where's it? It's the concentric pattern within all of us. Oh,
Mm.
I found it. Celic. This is something that some of it is borrowed, but some of it's written with my words.
Mhm.
Celic, C, something that seems to be vast in quantity, the boundless span of life, the way we can get lost on the journey through life.
Mm.
Ocean symbolizes the beginning of stability, unfathomable, and chaos. The sea signifies, this is what I'm about ready to read. The next piece is my own writing. The sea
Mhm.
also signifies as universal mind, the great realm of unexpressed and unformed thoughts and ideas that contain all all potentiality
Mm.
We sometimes think of a sea too as a state of unrest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when we're going through those moments in our life, we get to a point where think about think about when you throw a rock in a pond. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't affect one piece of the pond, it affects the entire pond. It
Yeah.
filters out. So each time we're doing something and we're not
Mm.
considering what we're going to do, it's like we're throwing that rock in the pond of life. It's when,
Yeah.
and it's affecting everything around us.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
affecting all things around us, all
I've just
people,
been
all energies.
I've just been asked to share this. This is just a little stone I found in Skellig when I was there. I've just been asked to
Beautiful.
show that. Isn't that nice? I wanted to ask you, Joseph, if you wanted to speak on volcanoes, because when you're speaking of water, so I'm water is what I know, right? And I have been shown that there's like when we're bringing in this pulse of the sun, this presence of the Father, um, I was shown that the volcanoes are the presence of this pulse, this fire, um, on the earth. Let's say, and I'm particularly thinking of volcanoes that are underwater. And I also know that I was told as well that the land that is formed from volcanoes is very sacred and pure, and it is a big part of what's next will be the land that's formed from volcanoes will be like the playground of innocence, let's say. And I just know that there's a lot of seismic activity at the moment. And so I'm wanting to give voice to volcanoes because I'm hoping in my knowing that if we give voice to what the presence of volcanoes actually are, what is, if there is I believe there's an intention in everything in nature. So I want to know what the intention is of the volcanoes so that we can bring it into balance and order. And I see volcanoes as this pulse of the Father that has been forgotten. And so I'm offering for it to kind of find its rhythm and find its beat. And in order for it to do that, um, we need to listen. So if yeah,
It's
mm,
funny, I typed in volcanic frequency response spirituality, and what I
mhm,
got was the spiritual The spiritual meanings of volcanoes is often associated with intense emotions, healing, self-awareness, connection between nature and human
mhm,
spirit.
mm,
Then I went a step further. Where is it? Volcanic eruptions often signify spiritual meaning. They are often associated with powerful forces of creation, destruction, rebirth. In modern spiritual practices, volcanoes symbolize transformation, rebirth, and renewal. And what's
mm.
interesting, you mentioned volcanoes, and I was just talking to my son. My son's actually he's a spiritual coach. I helped him get
Okay,
into life coaching, and
yeah,
he's teaching himself how to be a tattoo artist. He's done some tattoos already on some people,
yeah,
and it was interesting. I told him I wanted him to finish up my tattoo for me. My
mhm,
tattoo says Grimm, and when
okay,
I will send the picture of it to you through Messenger,
mhm,
and it has a gravestone and it
mhm,
has a house right here. But what's unique about my tattoo is I got it when I was in an American jail here,
mhm,
and it's those plastic chess pieces that you have for a chessboard. They were melted down.
yeah,
I had
mhm,
3 crosses that were used in my family for demonic exorcisms that were
wow,
melted down into the tattoo, and also 3 ashes of 3 different people that were significant in my life. And what's kind of ironic that one of the women, one of the mentors, that their ashes were bled into this.
mhm,
Her actual name was Volcanica.
Wow, that is
And
amazing.
when she passed away, she was 85 years old. But what was cool, she was Samoan. She was an old friend of mine, very ancient friend of mine.
Whew.
She had, when she take off, she would lift her shirt up and show people her back piece. And
Mm,
her back piece was a volcano going up her whole back. But what was cool about it is it had the lava coming out of it, and the lava went all over the rest of her body was done in lava, and the lava wrapped around her. How she got her name, she was actually born. She was from Hawaii, and where she was born at,
mhm.
you know how the volcano over there erupts often.
Yeah.
Her mom was pregnant, and her mom went out for a walk on that the
Mhm.
the molten there,
Mm,
and the volcano started the lava started coming down, and her mom got stuck on an area about this as big as this bed,
mm,
and there was nothing that could be done to get to her.
mhm.
So literally, her mom went into labor right there and gave
Wow.
birth to her right there on the volcano. So that's how she
Oh
got the
my
name
Lord.
Volcanica. And what was interesting is that
Wow.
I didn't, most people will not believe what I'm about to tell you. When her mother
Mhm.
gave birth to her, and after she came out, her mom sat there. Nobody was with her. Her mom gave birth to her. So she
Mhm.
cut the umbilical cord herself, and watch what her mom did. Her mom held her in her arms, and no joke, her mom, I got to meet her mother 4 year her mother passed away at her mother had her when she was 15. So her mother passed away 4 years prior to her daughter passing away. So I got to meet her mom, and her mom actually explained the story to me,
Mm,
and there was witnesses to what happened next. As her mother held her in her arms, her mother walked through the lava without being burned. Her mother
mm,
had a unique ability where she could literally turn her mother could create like a almost like a protection around her body, and what it was equivalent to, that would go like around her whole body, would be like her skin would become like crystal like, but what it would become, ready for it, sapphire. Her mother's name was Sophira, and I got to see her mother. Because her mother gotten older, it was hard for her to create that crystal thing around her, the crystal protection on her body. Her mother focused one day, and I watched all of her skin become like that of a sapphire, and I was like, whoa. And her mom goes, "Here, see this hammer? I'll show you that this can actually protect me." And I'm like, "Okay." She handed me a hammer. She goes, "Hit my arm," and I'm like, I hit her arm with the hammer, and it shattered,
mm.
a solid steel hammer. I was like, "Wow."
Wow.
So
That's so
you had Volcanica, and you had
that's so
Sulfura.
so I just want to speak. That is when you're speaking that to me, my whole body is remembering that. I mean, when I say my body recognizes what you're saying because it's tingling like crazy, and that is something that I've never heard before. So that is a whole new layer of memory, of reality, of consciousness. I want to just give space for Volcanica and Sulfura and the presence of the sapphire to just be in this space, to be returned to the consciousness of between us and everyone. And just beautiful, deep honor to that story and the women of that story. Just asking that that memory is brought into the consciousness, and that power of the sapphire can be remembered for anybody who needs it. Mm. These are ancient ways. We have ways and means. We are the original creators, and we have jewels. We have nature's jewels, and we haven't stolen them. We haven't, you know, taken them from people as the way of the false royalty. We have nature's jewels, and we have the ways and means of using them because we have the right heart, and our hearts are recognized. And when the jewels of nature recognize themselves in our heart, when the same geometry is there, when the same beginning is there, they want to work with us and for us. For they want to be commanded. If like the primordial energies want to be commanded by the right people, by the right hearts. So
You ready for some more chills?
sure.
Volcanica's daughter,
Mhm.
her name is badass. Volcanic or volcano, Ariotin, Sulfura frequency. Ariotin is actually EUTAN. Flip it forward. Nature.
Wow, powerful,
Her
powerful.
daughter, her daughter's still alive, and I'm in contact with her daughter almost every other day. And her daughter's in Hawaii. Actually, no, she's not in Hawaii. No, where's she at? She's actually in Germany right now. She's on her
Mm-hmm.
walkabout. She wasn't born in Hawaii though. Her story is even more unique.
Mm.
Volcano, or frequency as she calls herself. She calls herself frequency.
Beautiful.
Frequency right now actually was not born in Hawaii, was not born anywhere, and I'll explain. She was born actually on a freighter ship in between America, or no, she was born on a freighter ship between uh, England and America, so out there in international waters. So she has no country of her own.
Mm.
She was born without a country. She is a queen with no country.
She owns it
That's how
all
she rep
on on the one frequency.
exactly.
The sapphire
She
frequency
is
is going to own. Is going to bring everything together. Yeah.
exactly. That's she's
Mm.
in Germany right now, and why she's in Germany, she's on a walkabout.
Yeah.
You can see the Hawaiian in her, but she's
Hmm.
got an Australian accent because she spent from the age of 2 until she was 10 in Australia, so gained that Australian accent.
Hmm.
And she's on a walkabout right now, traveling the globe,
Yeah.
feeling following as she calls it, following the the deep geometrical. How is she put? Oh my god, the deep frequency, the deep geometry, the deep harmonical frequencies of the geometrical ley lines of the earth.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a mouthful. So that's what she's doing. She's following the frequencies of the earth. She's traveling
Okay.
all over, and I'm 43, so she's 40 right now, and she's been traveling for the last 20 years.
Okay.
She travels to all, she travels to the spots where their frequencies, where major
Hmm.
frequencies are. Before she went to Germany, she was actually over in Stonehenge, and she got to do a ceremony with a bunch of people in Stonehenge,
Nice.
and literally got to open herself up more and open herself on a deeper vibrational frequency than she has ever in her whole life.
Hmm. Wow. So when you're speaking these words, I want to say like the mothers and daughters of volcanoes, the mothers and daughters of the sapphire. I just want to speak those words into the consciousness.
You ready for her daughter's name?
Sure.
Saph- Sapphire Frequency Rose.
Oh, come on.
ROs.
Joseph,
I'm not
you're
kidding.
killing me.
I'm not kidding. Her daughter is 18. Her daughter is 20,
Mm.
and Her daughter is actually on her own little journey as well. They're
Yeah.
not together though. Her mother is in Germany. Her daughter, Sapphire, is actually in Hawaii right now. She's a
Wow.
volcanologist. She studies volcanoes.
Of course she does. Oh my Lord. What a beautiful,
She
all of that is just such an honor to hear their names, to know that
and
they
their entire
exist.
bloodline for the last 60 years has been only ever female. There's not been one male
Wow.
born in their bloodline for 60 plus years.
Wow.
60
Mothers and
years of
daughters.
women.
Mhm.
That I thought was badass.
That
I got
is,
to meet
there's a
her
reason.
mother. Her I got to
Hmm.
meet I got to meet Frequency's mother, as I
Hmm.
said, and I got to meet Volcano's mother, so I got to meet Frequency's great grandmother. So I got to meet all of them.
That was beautiful. There's a reason for that.
That
There's a reason you got to meet them
was
all. Hmm.
that was beautiful meeting them because they taught me to open myself more. They taught me to respect the ways of Earth. They taught me to respect the ways of nature.
Yeah.
Because nature, when nature does not like what we are doing,
Hmm.
it'll fight back. It'll
Yes.
fight back every way possible.
Hmm.
It's going to show you just how it's kind of like a reference that I like to use. When I used to be a surfer years ago, and I used to make a reference to people, I go, when you're surfing, the ocean, Mother Earth or Father Earth is just going to show you how small you really are
Yeah.
when you're out on that wave,
Hmm. Yes.
because it will take you down if
Hmm.
you don't respect it.
Joseph, this has been absolutely incredible. And I feel that that line of women, you know, met with you, um, and in the meeting with you, it has returned, what they are into that great library that you hold. Or, you know what I'm trying to like, it's just so incredible. Like these are the people we are meeting each other, we are feeling each other, and these are the people with the ways and means of creation. And everything is coming more clear in our togetherness. And it's only in our togetherness that it could ever become clear. And it's only in our separateness that we could ever be fractured and sequestered and convinced of smallness. So just feeling this huge rose breath, this gathering breath, um, reaching everybody and sending the sapphire frequency on this breath to reach everybody who is to be reached, everyone who is to come to the one mind. I offer this sapphire frequency on this rose breath through every single pathway, every neural pathway, every song line of the earth and beyond, as far as I can reach, as far as Joseph and I can reach in this moment. And then we are to trust who comes, we are to trust who pops up, who emerges, the words that pop up, the thoughts that pop up. This is all we have to do is trust ourselves. This is a divine orchestration right now. It's a synchronized dance, a divine orchestration. And the bum notes like are being taken out of the band. The the bad actors or the bad dancers are being taken out of the dance. So we have to trust ourselves. Okay. Do you have anything else, Joseph? I'd love for you to be the voice that finishes our conversation.
It's kind of interesting how you were talking about the sapphire frequency. My
Mm,
ex-wife, when I was in Florida, she is a master Reiki healer and an intuitive life coach.
mm,
She I had just gotten done with paranormal investigation with the group I went with. I tagged my team, they wanted night off, so I tagged along with another team, and then I went out on my own. I
Mm-hmm.
broke my own golden rule. Don't go hunting on your own. So I did it on my own. I'm in a
Mm-hmm.
graveyard and I'm talking. I had her on the phone with me at the time, and a dark energy assaulted me and dropped me to my knees. And I watched her. She said, "You all right, babe?" I said, "I'm good." She goes, "No, you're not." She goes, "What happened?" I said, "Something knocked me to my knees." I watched
Mm-hmm.
her suddenly close her eyes. I watched her open her eyes, and I watched her eyes light up the color of a sapphire, even the white part of her eyes. And I watched her go, "Archangel Michael, I call upon the sapphire flame." And this is no joke. She called upon it. She was 2,605 miles from me. And I watched her literally set her phone on her stand and go, "Be gone, darkness," and pull her hand out like this. And I watched a flame appear in her hands and her throw it just like this through the phone, came through me and erupted through the ground. And I watched it burn across the graveyard and push the darkness away. And
Wow.
I ended up going home and had gotten off the phone with her because she had to go to work
Mm-hmm.
or had a client and I was going to talk to her in a couple hours. A friend of mine calls me from Australia. I go, "What's going on? What's going on, Michael?" He's on a military base. He goes, "What the hell did you do?" And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "The entire power went out on the base here." I go, "That wasn't me." I go, "It's my wife." He goes, "Jolene did that?" I'm like, "Yeah." She managed to send energy 2,605 miles away to protect me, and it echoed across to Australia. That's some power.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "What I ended up seeing," I go, "Let me guess, the sapphire flame." He goes, "How'd I told him what happened. He goes, "Yep, that explains it."
Mm-hmm.
She was that powerful.
Yes. Beautiful honor to Jolene.
The synchronicities.
Yeah. We're all the one thing. Just coming back together. So much honor to Jolene. We're just with the one thing coming back together in a synchronized dance in the rose breath.
Serema sere, soshera, semia sere amatora, sosheresi, sofoseri. Universe, I ask you to honor Mary, the line of women that I mentioned. I ask you to honor my wife, or my ex-wife, excuse me. And I call upon Michael and his sapphire flame to bring a deeper frequency of harmonics into Mary with the sapphire frequency. Thank you, universe, for bringing Mary and I together. This was not by chance. This was pre-written. Thank you for bringing us together, and thank you for bringing her mentioning the volcano, so I could share my parts of my life with her. And thank you for having her mention the sapphire frequency, and allowing me to share my ex-wife's story of the sapphire flame. Deramasere tiniti sososea sovasere areanisere taniani ticchiare a motore.
Okay. I think we'll leave it at that, Joseph, because I just think that was such a beautiful blessing or command to offer everyone. Um, okay, thank you so much. I'm going to stop our recording. We can, I just want to thank you in person then as well. But thank you so much. It's just
I would
incredible.
definitely like a copy of this recording if you can send it to me. I would love it to where I could have a copy of it,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Yeah.
And I would love to be able to post it on my
Hmm.
platforms that I have.
Okay. I will figure that out. Okay. Thank you so much, Joseph. I'll just press stop on this recording.